Good morning, good morning, good morning. I couldn't hear. I don't know. It's totally dark down. What's good, Ron? How you doing? What's going on, everybody? I'm good this morning. Alive and well, Ron. How are you? Oh, your sound, your sound went out. Well, I will do it. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to this episode of the Buckeye Roast. I will be doing all the talking today. Ron has been put on mute by myself. I'm running the space like big homie. What's going on? Got Gmo in here first. I don't know how y'all let him get in here this morning, but he says go Canes. So we'll see how they pull off this weekend. Yeah, we got a big show for y'all today. We're going to talk some Ohio State football. We're going to talk some betting stuff today. We also got some new stuff to come up when Ron gets his voice back. So, I found it.
There you go. You're good.
Yeah, we are back in the middle of the intro, and I just hear the audio go dead in my headset, and I'm like, well, if I can't hear anything, I would guess that I am muted as well. So yeah, lost audio during the intro, but we are back, man. And like Q said, we got plenty of news and things to get into today. A war has come to an end. We will address that as more people get in here, but people are still filing in. So we will get started. But as you know, it is Friday and we have a special guest. So let's get him up here. Our guy, Pat Cahill of Menace to Sports. Pat, how you doing?
I'm good, boys. Happy Friday.
Oh, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. What would it be for a Buckeye Roast episode to have no technical difficulties? We start 15 minutes late, and my mic still isn't working. But we're here. The Buckeyes are back to playing football. I saw someone say on the timeline yesterday, it feels like an eternity since the Buckeyes have played. It felt like a preseason. Q and I were talking about that yesterday with the first two games against non-conference opponents, both pretty much cupcakes. The Buckeyes handle business and then go on a bye. It feels like the season hasn't even started yet. The bye week felt like a complete reset. Where are you at with it so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely weird that you would think they would do the 3 out of conference games and then the bye before the Big Ten schedule. That way, you really kick off things the right way. But I don't know. It just feels, like you said, like incomplete. Like we just got 2 blowouts, a bye, probably another blowout this weekend, and then Big Ten play. It's just, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it, but here we are. Nothing we can do about it now.
Exactly. No. Football is back, and we got plenty to. Go ahead, Q.
Go ahead, Ron.
No, I was going to say football is back, and we got plenty to get into. You wanted to talk about NIL valuations that recently were released by On3. We'll get those on the screen and let you take it away.
Yeah, so I saw the biggest risers, and some guys caught my eye that play for the Buckeyes. So I'll run through this list, and we can talk about those. But starts off with Cam Ward, GMO's guy. He's up 238K. And I don't know how they run these, so I would just hope he's running to Miami like, yeah, y'all, I'm worth 238K more. So let me get another deal in here. But he's up. Let me see who else is in here that I see. Brady Cook, the Missouri quarterback's up 134K, so he just hit over $1 million. But 2 guys I want to talk about in here, Josh Simmons and Josh Fryer. So Josh Simmons is up 101K, so he's now valued at $609,000 per year, and then Josh Fryer is up 97K, up to $592,000 per year. So I just wanted to ask, did you expect these 2 guys to pop up on any NIL valuation list this season? Because I surely didn't.
No, and it shows how silly these valuation lists are, because, I mean, both of those guys would learn a lesson in business negotiations and leverage. They're both in their last year at Ohio State, so unless they plan on sitting out games, I don't know if they're ever going to see that bump in NIL valuation. Like, bro, how you getting out money? Like, we already paid you. The season's going on. Like, I don't think we give NIL raises and bonuses in the middle of the season. So all those guys that are on that list that are seniors, I don't know how they do things down in Miami. Gmo, you got to let us know in the chat. But, I mean, the price is the price, bro. I don't care if the price of the brick went up. I still ain't got it off yet, so I don't even need it. Like, bro, you're still here. You can show me all these numbers you want. I don't got to pay you anything. You're in the middle of the season. You're not playing next year.
If you're in the middle of the season, you see your NIL value go up pulling on 3. Are you going to the coaches like, yeah, I'm gonna need another Mercedes deal?
Yeah, I'm pulling the old Le'Veon Bell. Like, let's go. I'm gonna sit out if you don't pay me.
The Jamar Chase.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not coming to practice.
Oh man, that's wild. Yeah, it's weird that they do these things in season. I'm looking at it now. So On3 has their own like algorithm that they use, performance, influence, exposure, and deal data to create their individual NIL valuation per athlete. So like, I guess this is just their top performers, I guess, because I don't know what else.
And a mix of maybe they've gotten more data on the current deals, which boosted their valuations of some of these guys. Like they might not have been aware of some of the earnings that these guys were had currently, or deals that they've already had lined up and weren't logged or calculated in their valuation. So that could also be a reason for some of these guys rising. They've gotten their money coming into this year, and On3 is now just putting it into their calculation.
Well, I think the one good thing we take out of this is the Ohio State tackles are playing pretty well as we go early into the season. So definitely want to throw it up there. And hopefully, by the end of the year, they're at $1 million per year. They're already paid. So they're performing at $1 million rate. I'd say they're playing.
Come to Ohio State. You'll be valued at $1 million.
Great recruiting tool.
Man. All right. Moving on, I want to talk about your guy, Urban Meyer. So this came out a couple days ago, but he said they asked him if there's potential to return to Florida was possible here. And he said that ship has sailed. So the question I wanted to ask to you two for Urban Meyer, obviously your legacy now at Ohio State. Do you want Urban Meyer's last positive stop to be as Ohio State as a coach? Pat, I'll start with you. Is that kind of the legacy you want to leave behind, or would you mind if he went somewhere else and try to put another program together and then people maybe start to remember him for that versus what they currently remember him as?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of enjoy having Urban's last stop being in Columbus. The whole 7-0 versus Michigan, the national title. I think that's a fitting way for him to go out. I just feel like anywhere else he goes, it'd be hard to top that last stop. I mean, undefeated against your rival and winning a natty is, two of the hardest things to do in college sports. So if he were to go somewhere else and try to accomplish that, I think for his sake, he'd be better off just leaving it as is now.
Ron.
Yeah, I feel like even if he does go somewhere, I do like the fact that Ohio State was his last successful stop, but it seems like he wants to be known as a Buckeye. I mean, he does the podcast every week, and there's Ohio State logo on the back of his chair, a Buckeye helmet in the back. Like, bro won 2 national championships at Florida, and everybody's like, yeah, but he's last Ohio State coach before Ryan Day, and it's just funny to see that, like, despite the success that he's had at Florida, it seems like he identifies more with the Buckeyes than Florida. And when he said that ship is sailed, he almost had felt like he had a little disdain in his voice for the university as far as that ship sailing, because it's not like, oh, no, I've been there, done that, that's over. It kind of seemed like that door was open and they chose not to. And he didn't seem very happy about it. But I like Urban as a Buckeye. I like people affiliating him with the Buckeyes, and I like that he represents the Buckeyes. I mean, you don't see him doing the Gator Chomp on game day, or Big Noon Kickoff, whichever one of those he's on. They're all tomato. I'm watching them.
Too, so it's
exactly
from Ohio. That's his last stop.
Yeah, I'm both of y'all. I want to see Ohio State as his last stop and how we remember his legacy. Obviously, he has the championships in Florida, but we will forever remember him as revolutionizing this program and bringing it more to modern times, national recruiting, and certain things like that. So I'm with you both there. Okay, I want to talk Louisiana Monroe that has no fear for Arch. So the Louisiana coach said, we actually have some guys on our team that played against him in New Orleans, a couple guys that have beat him already. So they don't have much fear against him. My question for you both is, how many overs are you hitting this week on Arch Manning against Louisiana Monroe? Because he's got to go off on Saturday, right?
Bro, he has to. First of all, why would you open your mouth if you're the Louisiana Monroe coach? Like, you're already a huge, 40-point underdog. You're just going to add more bulletin board material for this team. I mean, who cares if you had guys that beat him? He also has guys at Texas now that would probably curb stomp everyone that they played in high school at Louisiana Monroe. So it's just like, I don't get what the point is. It's so stupid.
I feel like there should have been some follow-up questions. Also, do you fear the receiver core? What about the defense? Defensive line. How about that? No, Ron.
Anyone else in high school or just Arch Manning, and one kid played him and he beat him? So
well, he's 1.0, so we don't fear him. We fear nobody.
I think
Go ahead, Ron.
I think Pat explained exactly why he did it. I mean, they're going to lose anyways. Why not at least give your team some confidence and let them think that you believe in them? They're going to go out there and lose by 40. You might as well give them some confidence so they don't get hurt while they're doing it. Like, at least give them a chance of like, yeah, you guys have done this before. You'll be fine.
Is that the new wave we're going? Where you know you're about to get blown out? Bro, I got no fear for Alabama and Nick Saban. Who really is Nick Saban, to be honest? So you in Mississippi State?
It's like that. It's like that dude from. Was it the dude from Vanderbilt or that was saying like, "Oh, we're not worried about Alabama. We're going to show them how tough we are, and that we play SEC football." And then Alabama comes in and just mollywops them. Like,
yeah,
why do you even talk shit? Like, you know you're going to lose, but I mean, I guess if you want to give your guys something fired up, most of them probably do have that mentality. Like, hey, we're about to go get mollywopped. At least if the coach believes in us, it gives them some hope, and they don't just go out there hanging their head ready to get punched in the mouth the first snap of the ball.
But is that the better route, or do you take it like the Mashall coach, who is like actively trying to recruit Ohio State players onto his team, and then that kind of gives your sense of team like, oh shit, like he doesn't believe in us, like you got to get other guys that we're playing, like come on, man.
I'm almost
right, and I'm sure they probably have I was going to say they probably have decent food down there too, so you should be able to entice them with some sort of incentive.
Little Tudor's biscuit.
No, I'm almost with this route. We see Colorado State, who is not relevant at all, get news cameras and a whole week of fame. People know who players are now on that team. So I'm almost with this route of, hey, let's talk crazy no matter what's going to happen on Saturday. And at worst, you know, our NIL valuation goes up.
Exposure points.
So I'm with that. All right, moving on. So I want to talk a little Jeremiah Smith here. So Pat, I'll start with you. Jeremiah Smith signs a deal with Red Bull. He's the first college athlete to do this, and I'm actually surprised college athletes are signing with Red Bull. So we'll see how that goes. But what do you think of this deal? Is this an NIL valuation that you've seen coming for Jeremiah Smith and college athletes going forward?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Red Bull is a huge partnership. You know, normally you see them with like the X Games and stuff like that. You rarely see them in, advertising with like the big four, like baseball, basketball, football. So I think this is huge for them and for Jeremiah Smith. I mean, a huge company like Red Bull. I'm confused. Like, how is that not boost his NIL valuation into the top 10? Like, what are we weighing here on three? Like, how is that not a top 10 worthy NIL valuation, especially given the start that he's had to his career? I mean, he had the 2 touchdowns week 1 and then the long touchdown in week 2. Like, he's played just about as good as any receiver in the country. How is the play is there? He's signing deals. Like, how is his NIL valuation not top 5 in the country right now?
Well, maybe it is. That one was like biggest risers. So maybe his was already so high that the percentage Red Bull added.
That's true.
It's already merchandise.
That's a good point.
It just wasn't high enough to put him as a riser. But Ron, I'll ask you, Jeremiah Smith signs his deal with Red Bull. Obviously, we know you are sponsored by SFE up here. So let me know, are you surprised at this Red Bull deal? And how much Red Bull now do you have at your house to go ahead and continue to boost his NIL valuation?
I'm going to go get a pack. That's why I'm actually awake so much this morning. That's why we've been able to actually wake up and get the show. We've been on the Jeremiah Smith Red Bull train in the morning. So, yeah, man, it's great to see. I don't know if you guys had hit on the highest graded wide receivers in single coverage yet while I was out.
No, I was going to roll to it next, so you're good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you see the numbers right in front of you. He's absolutely bursting onto the scene from the beginning, and it just shows the brand strength of Ohio State. He's been in Chipotle commercials. Now he's the first brand athlete, or the first brand college athlete with Red Bull, which is, I mean, most people don't think of Red Bull as a sports company, but they're definitely an action sports company. And the things that they do and invest in behind the scenes in action sports, whether that be in any of the Olympic or X Games sports, or whether they're just recording someone jump out of planes, to have a brand like that has shown a commitment to sports and things like that, and to be the first athlete to cross over from your traditional American sports into the action sports world is pretty exciting, and just shows the brand strength and the name recognition of Jeremiah Smith already.
Yeah, I follow you there. Obviously, he's performing on the field. I mean, I don't want him drinking a crazy amount of Red Bull or games. I know that sounds worse than alcohol for you. So it's just
gives you wings. He's gonna freaking fly down the field now.
You said worse than alcohol. Some people choose to mix it with alcohol. That's a real hard stopper.
RBVs.
Hey, Jeremiah, you coming to the party? Yeah, we need you to bring give us a few cases.
Is he the most popular guy on campus? Because he shows up with, like, Jeremiah Smith doesn't pull up to the parties in like his Lamborghinis or his Mercedes truck. He pulls up in one of the Red Bull promotion cars, and they just come in with the book bag of Red Bulls. Like, he's the most popular guy at the party, not because he's famous, because he brought the mixers.
Oh,
that's
my
wild.
Funny story. When I was in college, obviously, like I'm pretty sure every college has Red Bull girls that are students that you work for school. So one of our brothers dated a Red Bull girl. And so she would hook it up for parties. So when I had my birthday, like pre-games, I knew a girl that worked at Red Bull, and I knew a dude that worked at Monster. So I was like, all right, y'all, I need like 3 cases each. when you come, we all have mixer. So everybody would come in. I'm pretty sure I had a good amount of Red Bull stolen that was not used at the party because it was so expensive.
Q and his frat are going to end up in a class action when all of these people have heart disease and at 40 because of all of the mixed drinks and alcohol.
I will counter sue heavily. I'm sure I can prove. I can prove a lot of substance use that had nothing to do with me.
Awesome.
Man. But yeah, so moving on from Jeremiah Smith, I got one more for you, but I think this is pretty interesting here. So the UNLV football coach, he says in current college football, there is really no time for rebuilds. Quote, I do not believe in the world of college football anymore. There aren't rebuild projects. You don't have time for that, and no one wants to hear that. So basically, his proposition is that unless you really can't do anything without a proper NIL to build and compete and do it quickly. There's no more classic rebuilds of college football as we've seen people go build a program like an Urban Meyer at a Utah or something of that, where you have a few years to build a program and then expect it. It's like you compete now or you're shown the door. So, Ron, I will start with you. Do you believe that you have time for classic rebuilds of college football anymore, or do you think the NIL game has changed it so much that it's like just load up on the portal and try to do that year by year and continue to stay competitive?
I think it all starts with expectations and having realistic expectations, not only from the coaching staff, but from the donors and the administration. Depending on what university you're at, you need to be given the time to rebuild if you're not at one of those powers, or you don't have a Deion Sanders that's going to go transform the portal. Is what Mel Tucker did cool, not what he did on the phone, but what he did on the field. That was commendable. But and then Mike Norvell, what he was able to do at Florida State, all of those things and examples of the transfer portal completely revamping a team are far and few between from how many teams were like, yeah, we just need to revamp our offensive line in the portal. And then they go look at the portal and there's no offensive linemen or none want to come to their school. It takes time. It takes a specific brand to be able to leverage these new elements of college football to do the quick turnaround. So I think it's all about leveling expectations with these teams and with these programs to understand where they are at in the college football landscape before they set these unrealistic expectations for donors, for NIL, for the coaching staff. So I feel like it's more about setting the correct expectations in this era. I don't think it's realistic to believe that any coach can just transform a team.
Yeah, Pat.
Yeah, it seems just more like, and it's a quick fix too. It's not sustainable, as we've seen, like you said, with Mel Tucker and with Mike Norvell at their respective programs. Like it was a kind of like a 1-year fix, and then we've seen it with Florida State this year. I mean, holy shit, they look terrible through 3 games, and they attacked the transfer portal, and it all paid dividends last year. And then they got screwed out of the playoffs, lost their quarterback and whatnot. But like, it's not a way to build a program. It's not sustainable. So I agree with him. I just think that there's no rebuild. It's like there are these quick fixes where you might catch lightning in a bottle 1 year with all these transfers, but you're just not going to build a sustainable culture that way.
Yeah, I look at a program like a Cincinnati, and this was Luke Fickell got there a little bit before NIL, or just around as it was starting, and he had time to continue to build that program and actually give them time and effort. And you see that program still to this day. They go against Power 5 opponents, and I know they're Power 5 now, but over the past few years, they played against a lot of Power 5 opponents and were pretty competitive. And you see them winning year in, year out. And obviously, I think that works a lot better to your benefit than trying to do it on the quick, or saying, oh, this coach only won, 5, 6 games, which is not enough for us because we got to be competitive. So let's get him out of here and get somebody new. I feel like the old school route is still very necessary, especially if you're not at one of these big time programs who can just flip on a dime like that. Obviously, Ohio State, you have 1 year where it's bad. Money's going to roll in, and next year you can go get some of the best players in the country. But you can't do that everywhere. Even at Florida State, you look at it, it's like, well, they did not go out and get the best players in the country. You want that sustainable program there. I still think that's the best way to build. I don't know if you have any feedback on that, but I still think that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. And you got to see that, like, it takes time to rebuild. Like these overnight rebuilds don't really happen overnight. And you look at some of these schools, and I see Goj saying in the chat, no rebuilds, only applies to blue bloods. And yeah, I mean, I agree there, but at the same time, like, I know it wasn't a rebuild, but at the same time, you have to give these coaches time to become their best version of themselves. I mean, Kirby Smart, a lot of people weren't happy with how it started there, and if they pulled the plug too early, they don't win 2 national championships. Jim Harbaugh was a missed field goal against Rutgers away from being hired from Michigan, and they stuck that out, started a generational cheating program, and were able to win a national championship. So if you ride that out and stick with your coach long enough and let him fail on the job long enough and overpay him enough, maybe he'll develop a generational cheating scandal and won't have to use the transfer portal. And then a worldwide pandemic can happen and you could have 27-year-olds on your team. But if that doesn't happen, I don't know, maybe just fire the coach.
Yeah, especially non-Power 5. Make sure you have the best cheating program ever. The Avengers. That way UNLV can raise a natty, just like Michigan did. All right, so that's all I have for a pre-show. We'll hop into some betting here soon, but we've finally got our beef over on the channel, so we got some new options here, some new stuff you can do, and I will pass over to Ron. Ron, what can now I do if I log into YouTube and go watch Best Damn Media?
The war with YouTube is officially over. Our channel is back to monetization. We are no longer suspended by YouTube. The war is officially over. You can now send super chats on the Best Damn Media channel. So if you guys want to send us questions via super chat, those are now available. We also have a new members tier that add badges, custom emojis, exclusive features. Me and Q are going to meet again after the show to talk about some things that we can add for members and continue to build that tier out. So if you're interested in becoming a member here at Best Damn Media, you can do that through YouTube, and also super chats are back. So glad that the war with YouTube that has been going on since March, we've been going back and forth with them. So we have finally got that resolved. We are back and we're ready to go. So that is awesome, and we're excited to be back. A big thank you to our guy Goj that has been supporting us since the beginning. A big thank you for that. And yeah, man, we can't wait to get going, and hopefully it helps the channel out here. A big thank you to our guy Johnny Olden as well. Go Blues, still the champs. I'm going to need someone to send an asterisk in here for that one as well. But man, we always appreciate the super chats, and a big thank you to everyone that has been supporting us since we started. We're going, almost 2 years strong. We got to be approaching our 100th episode. Honestly, I haven't even been monitoring that, but we ought to be at almost 100 episodes for the Buckeye Roast, and just the support that you guys have shown us over the years couldn't be more thankful for it. But I want to get back into the show. A big thank you to you guys for always supporting us. Big week in college football coming up, and we got our guy Pat here, our betting expert, to hopefully win you guys some money. Bets of the week, Pat. We got the first one that we got is Florida State versus Cal -2.5. What are the numbers telling you about this game?
So this is an interesting state for Florida State right now. They're could become the first team since 2008 to lose, they became the first team since 2008 to lose all of their 3 first games as favorites. And if they lose this week, they'd be the first team since 2000 Utah to lose their first 4 games of the year, all as favorites. I don't see Mike Norvell letting that happen. And so I think this is a great, buy low spot on Florida State as 2.5-point favorites against Cal. Cal is a notoriously poor program. I think this is a chance for Florida State at home to get right. And I like Florida State a lot this week. I think they finally bounce back. They can't lose forever. DJU's been dealt with some bad luck. I think his receivers lead the nation in drops right now. So I think if they, fix some things up there, they should be able to handle Cal pretty easily.
I say not if former Ohio State great Keon Gray.
Q was just bragging about how much he thought of. Yeah, I mean, Q's big on Mike Norvell. If he wants to hold any credibility on his coaching assessment from the preseason, they're going to have to start winning eventually, or Mike Norvell's going to be coaching Q's high school team.
-2.5 from Mike Norvell. I'm putting my house on it. Coach
Hammer.
Hold it down.
So we like that one. Another game, I mean, obviously, I want to touch on the Ohio State game. It's always tough betting a huge spread like this early on in the season. Ohio State's 39.5-point favorites against Marshall. Good looking at some historical notes here. Since 2016, obviously the Buckeyes 35-0 straight up, but there's no juice there. They're 20-13-2 against the spread as 20+ point home favorites. So a little bit of historical data. They're hitting at about a 60% clip. So you guys like the Buckeyes to cover 39.5 this weekend?
Ooh, the way they played in week 2, and I hate betting a 40-point spread. The way they played in week 2, I would say it looks like we don't have let off the gas pedal Ryan Day this year. It seems like he's going to let them ride and let guys kind of go out and compete even late in games. No handoff merchants. So I will put my money on Ohio State -39 this week. I will bet that.
Same thing, Ron?
Yeah, I'd like to see the Buckeyes cover there. I think that would be huge for them. Last week, what did I say? -20, and the spread was 40.
Ron tried to set the goal line for the Western Michigan.
I gotta find the street bookie that lets me make up my own lines. Like, you text the bookie, like, yeah, I got the Buckeyes -20.5, and then he just ignores it, and then you call to cash your bet. Like, I didn't sign off on that.
Wait a second.
I remember back in I don't know about you guys. Did you guys ever meet a bookie in real life, like, prior to all of these gambling sites coming out? Like, bro, I felt like the place in college that you would meet a bookie. I feel like most people that I know that have ever dealt with a bookie, they've met him in some sort of finance class at college. And it's the most stereotypical place to meet a bookie. It's a guy that's good with numbers in either one of your accounting classes or finance classes.
The only bookie I've ever met in person is actually, so I used to bartend back in Jersey, and there was this guy that would come into the bar and he would hand out these slips to people. And it was like, you could pick anywhere between like 3 to 5 games on the NFL slate that weekend, and you'd fill it out, you give him the money, and then, you know, he would come back in on Tuesday after the week's games and hand out the cash to people who won. And I'm just like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I've never met a bookie before.
They did that they used to do that to barbershop when I was a kid.
I'm
sorry. I don't know what sort of technical difficulty is going on, but there's some sort of lag going on because like there's like a 10-second delay between me and everyone else. I keep talking over everyone, so I apologize.
That's good. Ron, I told you about that dial-up, man. You gotta get this new digital. What's it? What do we have now? Not Fios, fiber
That's what I'm saying, bro. I got that
fiber optics.
Yeah, I need a fiber optic line. I got that fucking Q Arizona internet going on right now.
Hey, chill.
All right, so I want to move on to this other game.
You had a hamster powering a wheel to.
Go ahead, Pat.
I want to move on to this next game because I feel like it's the biggest game of the weekend for Big Ten fans. Honestly, for the national landscape, you can make an argument as well. But USC Michigan, USC is 5.5-point favorites, which in my head and in my heart just feels like a steal. Like we've seen Michigan get blown out at home against Texas. We saw USC beat LSU early on in the year. Just the trajectory of the two programs make this seem like USC should blow Michigan out of the water. But then I stumbled upon this interesting note here. So since September of 2012, USC has lost 8 straight games straight up when they've had to travel to the Eastern or Central Standard Time Zone. Does that worry you at all, Q? The fact that, all right, this is kind of USC's first introduction into the Big Ten on the road at the Big House. They're traveling across the country. I don't know. The fact that they haven't won eight straight games in the in the time zone, does that worry you at all? Or do you think USC still rolls?
I don't know, man. I mean, Gojay knows something. He's been saying Michigan for like all week. I don't know who he knows on the program. I don't know what inside information he has, but he's been saying Michigan. I've seen the spread, and this wants me to really hammer USC -7.5. Like USC wouldn't by a touchdown the way they played in the first few weeks. Yeah, but I don't know. Something does feel a little spooky about this game. I don't know if it's because Halloween's coming up. I don't know if it's just getting that time of year, but I just feel like Michigan's going to pull something out their ass that we just haven't seen. I mean, Alex Orji obviously starts at quarterback. We've mentioned that. I still would probably pick USC, but I don't know. Something just feels, I don't know. Is it just me? Something feels a little off about this game. Like they're just going to come out and play some great defense, and Orji and this running attack is going to find a way to keep going and make it close, maybe like a 3-point game.
No, I definitely agree. And it's weird for me too, because this line opened up as 7.5, and that's what the Texas line was against Michigan. So you figured, all right, that was standard. You mean Texas won by almost 20 points? Was it 31-12 final? So they covered the spread pretty easily. You would think that USC is 7.5-point favorites the way they've beaten LSU, have proven that they can beat a nationally ranked team. That would make sense. But the spread is dropping away from USC. It's getting closer to Michigan, which makes me worried. Something does not. I agree with you, Q. Something feels spooky about this game, and all I want to do is hammer USC -5.5 because I think it's a steal. But there's something in my gut that I'm like, God damn, I don't know. I'm a little worried about this.
Yeah, it feels like the steal of the weekend. It should be. I mean, I may put slight money on USC that way if they don't pull it off. I'm not too sour about it. I would say right now, the way Michigan has played, the way USC has shown their defense to be somewhat competent in now these few weeks, and especially the way they played against LSU and some other teams, I think they could go in there and ride out a 7-point victory. I wouldn't probably put it anything over 7. I probably wouldn't have bet it. So I think I feel solid with this 5.5. I think they could at least win by a touchdown going in. That's where I would put my money.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I can't bet on Michigan, so I'm going to have to bet against them. It's just how the confidence. How much am I putting on?
Yeah, that's where we'll go there. So you got Louisville and Georgia Tech next. I threw this one in there. So I want to ask you, obviously Georgia Tech came out. They played really well the first game or so, and then Syracuse said, yeah, enough of that. We're done with that. Louisville has kind of been the boogeyman of the ACC. We don't talk about Louisville much. Miami's got a lot of hype. Syracuse has got a lot of hype. Louisville has been that solid team that's been the ACC championship a few times in the last few years. So they're minus 10.5 versus Georgia Tech. Any thoughts on there where you would put your money?
I'm leaning Georgia Tech right now. They're 10.5, getting double digits. Since 2022, Georgia Tech is 14-5 against the spread as an underdog. So, and they've won the last 2 games outright as underdogs. They were favorites against Syracuse, so that one doesn't qualify. And Georgia Tech's covered 7 of their last 8 games as underdogs versus ranked opponents. So there's something about playing a ranked team that brings out the best in those Yellow Jackets. So I think I'm going to ride the train on this one. I think 10.5. I feel comfortable taking that. Like you said, Louisville has kind of been that boogeyman of the ACC. They seem to always be like 9-3 each year and make the ACC championship game and talk their way into like the playoff conversation here and there. But I think this is a good spot. I don't know if Georgia Tech's going to win, but I feel pretty safe taking them getting 10.5.
Okay, and I got one more for you before we hop into Ohio State stuff. Tennessee, Oklahoma, the marquee game of the weekend. Oklahoma's big. Welcome to the SEC challenge here. Tennessee is minus 6.5. What notes do you have here, and where are you leaning?
So this is an interesting spot because Oklahoma typically isn't a home underdog, a historic program, historically great program. You figure they'd be favorites at home more often than not, but they've been home underdogs 5 times since 1998. And they've won outright 3 of those 5 times, and they've covered in 4 of those 5 games. So I don't know. Something's telling me that maybe we throw a little money on Oklahoma plus 6.5. History backs it. The only issue I have is that Jackson Arnold hasn't looked good for Oklahoma, and I think Nico is probably one of the top. You can make an argument he's a top 3 quarterback in college right now, the way he's playing. This will be a good test for Tennessee. But gun to my head, I'm going to take Oklahoma with the points. 6.5 is a lot for a team that historically plays well as a home underdog.
Yeah, I've been feeling Tennessee on this one, especially minus 6.5. But I could see this one getting a little closer than that. I think I would sprinkle a little on Tennessee right now. But I'm no expert. Do not follow that advice. It's just a gut feeling. But that's where I am with it right now. We got Ron back in here. Before we get to that, we're gonna hop into Ohio State bets real quick. I want to say shout out to Doreen Asian Posh. She's the first member in here. I did see her join in, so definitely appreciate you there. We're gonna work on some content and get some stuff for you. We'll scheme it up after the show. We'll have Pat dance and do TikToks and just put them on the members side. And that's the only place you can find it. It's no on the internet.
I'm all for it. Let's go.
It sounds like we got to get the merch store up. I see people in the chat asking for mugs. Q's bonnet has been a hit around here, so we might have to start selling Best Damn Media bonnets for the bonnet boys and the box score boys.
Okay.
To get this going out there. I figured out why while I was having issues, Adobe Creative Cloud decided to want to destroy all my resources in the background and quietly just take away all of my computer resources. But it looks like we are back. We got plenty to talk about, but also a big thank you to Posh for becoming the first member. And hopefully we'll be adding more of those soon, and definitely have some more content around our memberships here within the next week or so. But the Buckeyes are back and playing a game tomorrow. So I want to get some thoughts on over-unders for the Buckeyes. Last year, we talked a lot about the number 17, and if the Buckeyes would be able to hold teams under 17, we thought that was the magic number for them to win. I feel like the number's a little bit higher. I don't know where you guys stand on this offense, but I am more confident in this offense than I was last year's. But I wanted to set tomorrow's over-under at 9.5 to the Buckeyes. I think the number that I want to monitor this season is, do the Buckeyes give up double-digit points against any of their opponents? I mean, I would imagine they do eventually, but we're going to monitor that until it happens.
Pat, you go ahead.
I'm gonna go under. I still trust in this defense right now. I mean, it's they're gonna have a letdown game at some point, and by letdown I mean they're gonna give up double digits at some point. But I think Marshall. There's nothing there that scares me. They've played Stony Brook and beat them 45-3, and then they lost 31-14 to Virginia Tech. So to only put up 14 against the Virginia Tech defense makes me believe that, all right, Ohio State can definitely keep them under double digits. I think there's the pass rush is look great through 2 games. Clearly the secondary, we know what they all are. I just think if anything, Ohio State's defense might score more on their own than giving up. So I'm going under on that.
Yeah, I will do the same. I think this defense has played very lights out, and even the backups and third string coming in. So I will take our third string versus Marshall's third string. So I'll hammer that under 9.5. I think they'll be in single digits, and we keep this train rolling going into Big Ten play.
One of our big topics of discussion this offseason with Pat on some of the preseason shows was who's going to be the first running back to get 100 yards at Ohio State. It ended up being Quinshon Judkins in week 2. So for week 4, I set the line at 99.5 rushing yards for Trevion Henderson. Do we get a 100-yard rushing game from Trey? And if we say no here, do you think that is an indication that we might not see one this year with the balance and rotation that we've seen out of that room?
You know what? I'm going to take the over on this just because Virginia Tech ran the ball all over Marshall when they played, rushing for over 200 yards. So, I mean, there's a chance both these running backs could go over 100, depending on how the game script flows. But I feel like maybe Ryan Day is going to want to give Trevion the chance to do it now that Quinshon's done it. I don't know if he's going to be playing favorites when him and Chip Kelly are, scripting a game plan for tomorrow. But I'm going to go with one of these running backs is getting over 100. So for the sake of the bet, I'll take the over. That's going to be Trevion. I don't know. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah, I would probably go under right now. If there was a Trevion Henderson over like 140 all-purpose, I would probably handle that. I think that we'll find some ways to get him the ball. I don't know if he's just going to go straight over 100 rushing, but I have a feeling he's going to have a good game tomorrow. So, yeah, I would hammer the under that right now. But if you see all-purpose out there, don't forget, I told you here first.
Our guy Johnny said, if the Buckeyes don't beat the spread, Ron has to wear a bonnet. That's not a punishment to me. Anything that covers his hairline, I'm with it. I'll wear a traffic cone on my head before I take this hat off.
Yeah, if y'all only knew the amount of split ends I get in my hair, you understand why. I got to stop sleeping on a straight pillow. The scissors
I mean, if we started showing the pre-show, they'd see you cutting your hair.
Yeah. Members only.
Yeah, members only. You're going to be able to join 10 minutes before the show and watch me and Q set up the show and watch Q cut his hair before we get started. I'll show up and Q just have a pair of shears. And I'm like, what are you doing? Oh no, just trimming split ends.
There's a giant knot out of my hair that keeps showing up.
My delay is back, so I'm going to pitch the question and then drop and come back. But as Q mentioned earlier, this is an SFE sponsored platform. So, of course, we have to have an SFE-based question here for our over-under. Over-under 2.5 SFE touchdowns.
Pat, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna take the under just because I think we're gonna see something similar to what we saw against Western Michigan. I mean, against Western Michigan, it was primarily the rushing show, 6 rushing touchdowns on the day, and only 2 receiving touchdowns, one by Jeremiah Smith and one by Bennett Christian. I think we're gonna go under. I think it's gonna continue to be a rushing attack for the Buckeyes tomorrow. They're gonna be up double digits. Hopefully it's a blowout by halftime, and then the backups start to come in. I'm gonna go under 2.5 for this week.
You?
Mike is gonna make sure this is the last time we're about it on the show. He's in here cooking in the chat. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over. I think Jeremiah Smith will start fast. I think he'll get one early, And I think Brandon Ennis will get his first one of the season, and Cardinal Tate will hold me down somewhere in the middle there. I will go over. Either Jeremiah Smith gets 2 and Brandon Ennis gets 1, or each of them get 1 each out there. Maybe we'll throw a Mylan Graham. Maybe we'll get 4.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
we get a Mylan Graham late game touchdown, maybe, and Aaron Scott pick 6, or Bryce West pick 6 late in the game. We got some options here, man.
We'll find some somewhere. So I'm gonna hammer the over on that one.
All right, a few more before we get out of here. Over under 1.5 forced turnovers. Jim Knowles has made it a big emphasis that this defense wants to play aggressive, and we're seeing him, the mad scientist that we were advertised before he got hit there, start to get rolling. The Buckeyes seem to be playing faster on defense and definitely more aggressive, making turnovers a point of emphasis. Do the Buckeyes get over 1.5 this weekend?
I'm going to take the over. I trust in this defense. The pass rush has been there. I think they can get 2 forced fumbles alone on the defensive end, with the defensive front, and then I think we're due for another pick 6. So I'm going to go 3. I'm going to go 3 turnovers. I think we get 2 forced fumbles and a pick. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, the way Virginia Tech really shut this team down, I feel like there's turnovers to be had. Yeah, I'll probably go with 2 turnovers, and I think we have a chance to get, like Pat said, 1+ touchdowns this week. It may be in the Chris Drew special, that two touchdown defense payoff that he had. So I might sprinkle some money on that. I'm gonna hit the over on this one.
And the last question before we get out of here, I have the over as well. I think the Buckeyes defense is really going to get after it. I expect at least an interception and probably a strip sack. I feel like our defensive ends have really been getting home and making life hell for quarterbacks. So I expect that to continue this week. And last question, the tight ends. It's not really an over-under. It is just which tight end leads us in yards this week. It seems like a position that has fallen out of grace a bit with the Buckeyes, but Jelani Thurman has been continuing to get praised after being labeled with the cursed word of consistency from Ryan Day. It seems like they're happy with the progress he's making. Do we see the Jelani Thurman breakout game against Mashall?
I hope we do, but I'm not convinced that we will yet. I think that if it happens, it'll be later in the season. Like you said, he's apparently struggling with consistency, so I'm not ready to say that he's going to lead the tight end room in yards this week. Honestly, I'm going to run it back. Let's go Bennett Christian twice in a row. Give me some garbage time tight end money, baby. Let's go. I'm running 2 back-to-back. Bennett Christian leading the room in yards.
I will go a different route. I think it's time for the light-skinned guys with the good hair to come in and ball out. I'm going G. Scott this week. I'm sure he's got his bonnet on right now, waking up, getting ready for practice to go out there and ball out. So I'm going G. Scott this week, leading the team in yards as far as tight ends go.
I'm going to go with Jelani Thurman and continue to stick to my prediction there. I did a recent appearance on 93.1 in Lima, and they were asking me about the tight ends, and they asked what is the potential for Jelani Thurman? And I said he had the potential to be the best wide receiver in Ohio State history, and everyone looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, Ryan Day was talking about breaking tight end records with Jeremy Ruckert. Jelani Thurman is an absolute freak of nature, and if they maximize his potentials, there's no question this guy will end up being the best wide receiver, at least receiving tight end in Ohio State history, if they're able to get that guy rolling. So that's definitely something that I want to monitor, continue going forward, the use of tight ends in this offense. But a big shout out to everyone that has been supporting us today. A big special shout out to GoJ and Johnny for the super chats, and Posh for becoming a member. Hopefully we can get those members up going forward. And on Monday, we'll have more details about the members' benefits in the future for the content that we have. And then a big special thank you to our guy, Pat, for joining us this morning. Fellas, let the people know where they could find you.
You can go first, Pat.
Follow me on Twitter at Pat_KHILL8. Drop some fire. I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to trying to get into my Chris Drew bag a little bit with I've been rolling out some Cleveland Indians edits recently up there. So it's playoff baseball time. I'm excited. So if you want some Guardians content or Indians content, you can drop a follow over there. And then follow me on Menace to Sports. Me, Chris, and Ainsley have a little Menace Trio show called the Laugh Track Trio. If you subscribe and you're a member on our platform, you get access to that. So we're filming another episode today. Should be good.
There you go. More content, the better. If you want to find me, I am City Boy Quentin on Twitter. I'm finding Johnson on Instagram and TikTok and Minor League Films. I think I just talked Transformers, the new one, which everybody should go see. Go see Transformers 1. It's not a kid's movie, so make sure you check that out. But yeah, man, the chat brought the energy today. My guy Mike Green, he just dropped a super chat. So let's jump to that. He said he'll slide on anybody, so I appreciate it because I'm wearing the bonnet outside this weekend. So I'm sure I'll get a lot of beef and a lot of problems.
Next time Mike sends a super chat, he's gonna have a bonnet on in that picture. The Bonnet Boys unite.
Bonnet Boys out here. But no, appreciate the members, appreciate the super chat, appreciate the support, all that. Ron, let's get out of here.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TES. If you guys saw it yesterday, Chris Drew and I were on Bleacher Report on Wednesday. We re-aired that yesterday morning. If you haven't checked that out, be sure to check that out. We will be post-game live in the Bleacher Report app after the game. Pat mentioned Ainsley. You guys will be introduced to her tomorrow on the Best Damn Pregame Show. She will be live downtown doing street interviews during the Best Damn Pregame Show, leveling up our production on that show. So if you haven't checked us out, make sure you check out me and Chris Drew Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on the Menace platform for the Best Damn Pregame Show. We have a lot of cool things that we're working on around that show. So definitely make sure you're tuning into that. And then Chris and I will be post-game on Bleacher Report and then Buck IBS on Sundays. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and thank you guys for all the support. You guys know how this ends. Go Bucks and OH.
Ayo.
Yeah.